Ilia Topuria has said that he wants to fight Max Holloway in Spain.
Wow, that'd be crazy. That
And
would
if
be
he knocks
absolutely
out
crazy.
Volk, Max Holloway could be getting a title shot at featherweight if the
Ooh,
Gaethje
I
fight
think
doesn't happen.
how you doing, fight fans? It's Timmy Shoes with Inside Fighting, joined once again by our editor-in-chief, Jesse Rowe, for this edition of Insider Betting, where we're not actually talking about betting, because there's not very many fights going on. But before we get into it, Jesse, how you doing?
Doing very well. Happy to see you. Happy New Year. Glad
Yep.
we got the formalities out of the way. Timmy, we know what we want to talk about. No boxing this episode. It's all what? UFC champions? Is that what we're doing?
We're doing UFC champions, a little bit of future betting
Yeah.
outside of we're gonna talk about who we think is gonna be the champion going into it. But let's just jump right into it. Let's start with the little guys first, the flyweights. Alexandre Pantoja, he is the current 125 kingpin. There's some good guys at the top of the division. Jesse, who do you think is going to be the flyweight champion of the UFC at the end of 2024?
In a way, I think this might be the easiest one to do. And it's tough for only one reason. It's between two fighters. Um, I have my dark horse, not really a dark horse. I think Amir Albazi has a chance to be a champion at the end of the year. I think that Kai Kara France got a little screwed in their their fight that led Albazi to this sort of title eliminator fight that he has going on with Brandon Moreno. But I'm just like thinking about it, and I really love the way Pantoja fought against Brandon Royval. I think that there's a chance that he's just going to hold this for the year. That he might be the cream of the crop of the division. I think it's between him and Moreno, because I do think Moreno will fight for the title again. Assuming he gets through Albazi, he will fight for the title again this year. I think Pantoja holds it by year's end. And I love Brandon Moreno. I hate saying that, but I just think that Pantoja might be the most complete fighter in that division. I think that
Yeah,
he's excellent. He's
yeah.
excellent.
Pantoja seems to have a pretty good advantage over Moreno. They've fought a few times already,
Yeah.
and I am not going with Alexandre Pantoja. It actually pains me to do this to pick against my Brazilian, but I think the flyweight champion at the end of 2024 is going to be Mohamed Mokaev. I think he's gonna. I know he's only ranked eighth right now,
Yeah.
but I think he's one of the most talented guys in the division. I think he's going to climb the ranks fast. I think he's probably only one or two fights away from a title shot. Probably only one fight away. I think if he wins his next fight, they're going to push him to a title shot. He's going to get somebody in the top five probably. And this one's a fun one, the bantamweights, because this division is wholly stacked, man. This is the most stacked division, in my opinion, right now. Look at this top 10. What a murderer's row. Sean O'Malley was one of those unexpected champions last year. Jesse, who is going to be the bantamweight champion at the end of 2024.
Fuck it. Timmy, I know I told you something before we got on this episode, but I think I just changed my mind. I told you that I thought that Umar was going to be the champion before this episode started. And I was looking at these rankings and I just changed my mind because I actually completely forgot about somebody and I feel horrible about it. It's my favorite fighter in the UFC. Some would say that I'm his twin, maybe like a spiritual twin, but I think Corey Sandhagen is going to be the champion at the end of 2024. And I think that Corey Sandhagen is destined to be the champion. I felt this way about this guy for a long time. I think Umar will be champion one day, so I don't think it's a bad pick if you feel that way. But I think that Corey has proven, even though he's injured right now, he's probably like a few months away from even an announcement that he's fighting. But he's evolved so much. His ability to study the game. I mean, he literally has a quote in an interview with Luke Thomas where he said, "I think in 7 or 8 years, I'll have it super figured out." And what he's saying is that he's studying every aspect of the game so closely. He's so in tune with like how his body reacts to every element of the sport and how you perceive it intellectually and spiritually and mentally. He's a true martial artist. He really is. And I just think that he's the best fighter in this division. I think Marab could be a champion at some point this year. Um, I think O'Malley probably could beat Cheeto. I think Cheeto could be champion. But I think by the end of
Yep.
the year, maybe like in November, Sandhagen gets his shot, and I think that he's the best one. I think he's the most complete fighter in the division because his wrestling looked good against Rob Font. He's evolved as a wrestler too.
Yeah.
So, so long as he doesn't have so long as he doesn't have to face Aljamain Sterling again, Corey Sandhagen's going to be champion.
Who do you think he's going to be fighting? That's the question.
I mean, I think that the wet dream is fighting O'Malley. I think that's the one that everybody wants to see because it's a striker's delight. But I have a feeling it's going to be Marab or Umar because he was willing to fight Umar. That fight was supposed to happen. I think that's still a fight that the UFC might actually be planning to book. If I remember on the Nelk Boys podcast, that fight was actually still sort of being targeted on the board, on the big board. But he also called out Marab after he beat Cheeto. So I do think that he's going to have to get through Marab or Umar for it to happen. And I think that Corey can do it. I do.
I like the pick. I mean, God, this is a hard division. I'm just looking
It's really
at all
hard.
these guys. There's so much talent in this division.
If you said Song
I
Yadong, I'd be okay with it. Like, it's so good. Everybody's good.
I think, and I don't think the UFC brass is gonna like this very much. I think Merab Dvalishvili is gonna be the champion
Yeah.
at the end of 2024.
I can't argue with that. Why?
I just think, he's just too relentless. He's got that pace. He's got the wrestling. I think maybe if his style wasn't as I don't want to call it boring because I hate it when people call it boring. Not fan friendly. We'll describe it that way, right? Because I know that people were there was like some rule changes almost after one of those fights. People were sad that Corey changed his style, but I just think Aljo's not in the division anymore. There's nothing holding Marab back. He's going to get that title shot eventually, so I think he's a good pick. Now,
yeah. Well, he spammed Peter Yan with like 42 takedown attempts or something like that when they fought.
Yep.
I agree. I would say I think that a guy like Sandhagen is uniquely he's uniquely prepared for a guy like Marab. He's sort of like an Izzy in a way. And he's not the kickboxing level that Izzy is, but his ability to sort of prevent those sorts of takedown threats, I think, is what makes Sandhagen really special. His ability to do that and neutralize it with his own ability to wrestle. So I agree, though. If I had to pick between like three guys, Sandhagen, Marab, Umar, I don't think you can go wrong. So I don't hate your pick at all. It's a terrible marketing opportunity for the UFC, though. Yeah. It's awful.
Yeah. Moving on to the featherweights. The 145ers. Alexander Volkanovski is going to be fighting Ilia Topuria in February, right? Yes, February, I believe.
Yeah.
And so that begs the question, who is going to be the featherweight champion in 2024, at the end of 2024?
I want you to go first on this one.
Why you got to make me go first?
Yeah, I've gone first twice.
Yeah. If Volkan, I'm so excited for this fight against Topuria because if Volk beats Topuria, he's so close to being the GOAT, one of the GOATs, being the GOAT of featherweight. I mean, he's already one of the GOATs, and he'll be one of the GOATs overall because it will be him taking out one of the next generation fighters of his division. So he'll take out the old guys, his contemporaries. Ilia Topuria represents that future wave. If he can get through that fight, I think it's going to be Volk. I really do think it's going to be Volk. He is getting older, but I'm looking at the top of the division right now. I think Topuria is the best shot at anyone else winning. I don't see any other guy winning unless it's Josh Emmett landing one of those monster bombs. Because if Josh Emmett gets a title shot, I think he has the ability to beat anybody anytime. So the featherweight Derek Lewis, right? The featherweight Ngannou. So I'm gonna go with Alexander Volkanovski.
Yeah, I mean, how can I argue with that? Um, I have a really weird one, and
Do you? Oh, we got some dark horses. I love the dark
I
horse
have a
picks.
weird
Let's go.
scenario happen because I think Ilya is going to beat Volk. I do. Now the question is, and I will be predicting that on Insider Betting, a little bit of a future on the future episodes. I will be predicting Ilya to win that
Futures on the
fight.
futures.
Coming off of a knockout, I think Ilya is he's more marketable than Volkanovski. I really hate saying that, but I kind of think it's true. I think Ilya is like he's an incredible opportunity for the UFC to sort of branch out in Europe. The question is, how does he beat Volkanovski? Because if it's just like a decision win, like a tough fight, a close fight, Volk is getting the rematch. Like there's no way, shape, or form that Volk's not getting it, unless Topuria knocks Volk out in like the first or second round. And then it's definitive, sort of how O'Malley did to Aljo. I think that obviously Volk has a higher standing than Aljo. But Ilia Topuria has said that he wants to fight Max Holloway in Spain.
Wow, that'd be crazy. That
And
would
if
be
he knocks
absolutely
out
crazy.
Volk, Max Holloway could be getting a title shot at featherweight if the
Ooh,
Gaethje
I
fight
think
doesn't happen. If the Gaethje fight doesn't happen, where because he wants to fight Gaethje for the BMF, so if that
mhm.
doesn't happen, Max Holloway could be getting another title shot against Ilia Topuria by year's end. And I think Max Holloway beats Ilia Topuria and is the champion by the end of the year.
Ooh, I like the timeline. I like the
Yeah.
timeline. And listen, getting Volk out of the way from that top spot is Max's would be Max's. Max is going to be
Yeah.
rooting
And then
for
I think
Ilya
he
Topuria.
retires, by the way. I think he wins and he retires.
Max retires.
Yeah. I guess he
Well,
could keep going, but I mean, like, or he moves up to lightweight. I don't think that like he wants to fight Volk again. Maybe he does. I don't know what you do with the division at that point. It might actually be
yeah.
like professional malfeasance for me to even be recommending this fight, but like Topuria wants to be one of the best. And I think he has to beat Holloway because that's the one knock is like, hey, you didn't beat Holloway en route to getting the shot against Volk. You beat Josh
Right.
Emmett. I think Josh Emmett is a great dark horse to end the year as a champion. Because he's 39. This is his last year, so I wouldn't mind. I don't hate
Yep.
that pick either. I like Josh Emmett a lot. I interviewed him. He's determined to be a champion. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I
I'd
think
like
that
him. I'd like him to get his shot. I don't know
yeah,
if he'll win, but I'd
yeah.
like him to get his shot.
But I think that Ilya wants the max fight. Ilya needs to knock out Volk. Like it needs to be clear. It needs to be like no questions asked, a clear win, so that Volk doesn't get the immediate rematch. Because otherwise, I think Volk will be the champion, and I agree. So
All right, beautiful. Moving on to the 155ers. This is another super stacked division. Islam Makhachev, he is current champ right now, but there is another murderer's row. We've got the classic guys who've been at the top for a long time, Gaethje, Poirier, Oliveira, the veterans. We've got a younger guy in the mix right now, Arman Tsarukyan, who has fought Makhachev, gave him a pretty good fight. And then you've got, there's Gamrot, there's Fiziev, Darius just got knocked out. Chandler's probably fighting Connor, maybe. Jesse, give us a prediction. This one's a little hard to pick too, but give us a prediction.
it's tough. It's a great division. I know what you're gonna say, so I'm not even gonna pick it. So uh, I have some interesting ones, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just like thinking about it. Like I want to say Jalen Turner is a dark horse to be a champion at the end of the year. That's a fun one. I like Jalen a lot. He's super good on his feet, obviously. He needs to work on his grappling a little bit. Gamrot is an interesting pick. I don't think he's even really going to get a title shot because that's another Marab situation. It's just not very marketable. I just think Islam's going to be the champion. I just think he's the best in that division, and I don't see him losing unless it's Justin Gaethje. I think that's the best chance the division has because the only guy that ever really cracked Khabib in his time as champion was Gaethje. The guy that came closest to like hitting him actually to the point where he could get him out of there was Gaethje. I mean, Connor did some things, but I think that he was the best. Islam. I know that you were. I know you're going to pick Oliveira. So let's just get this over with.
Listen, nobody can beat Islam in this division right now
Yeah.
except Oliveira. But there are some things that can happen because I think Makhachev is a safe pick. I think it's a logical pick. I'm not going to hold
Yeah.
it against you for picking it. I think Dubronx is going to come back and beat him, but I do have a dark horse. It is not probably not a guy on a lot of people's radars to expect it, but Benoit Saint Denis.
Yeah.
I think he's been a real finisher. He's been a real good run. If he wins, he can fight 3 times in 2024, 2 more finishes, and then he gets a title shot. I could see that happening. Armin Saryukin's a great choice,
Yeah, I was about to
but
say Benoit or Arman, I think are the other two logical choices if it's not Islam.
the reason why Islam Makhachev might not be champion at the end of the year isn't even necessarily because he's losing. He's already talking about going up to challenge at 170. So he might have to go up and they might have to vacate, which
Are we
means
getting into the next topic already on the next division already? Because I don't know if we're going to pick the same name or not. Also, by the way, Islam's also talked about potentially retiring early, like his coach and friend Khabib Nurmagomedov. So that's another
did he?
possibility.
I missed that. I did. I
Yeah,
missed
just
that.
not maybe not retiring this year, but that he only maybe has like 4 or 5 fights left. Because he's going to be a guy
Okay.
that goes out on top.
On top.
He's not going to keep fighting into his late 30s. So I think Islam could only be around for like a few more years, to be honest. So